Hey everybody, welcome back to yet another episode of Animation Dissection, the podcast that will never let it go. Never. Never, ever. Anyway, I'm Neeksy, here with Zorak, of course.
Hey, Neeksy.
Yes?
Do you want to record a podcast?
Well, do I?
See, it's
I
a
sure
reference
do,
to that.
Mr. Zorak!
It's a reference to that song from this film we're about to speak about.
Do you want to record a podcast?
Please stop. Pre-discussion discussion. Heads up, I didn't care for the musical numbers in this musical. All right, continue.
Well, as you must have deduced from all this, we are talking about Disney's Frozen this week. But before that, of course, we will be going through the animation news. I don't have that much this week, but a couple nice things. The trailer for The Secret Lives of Pets has come out. It is being produced by Illumination, which is the same studio that does Despicable Me and has that new movie coming out. The one with the little corn turd things.
I love that your description.
The
Rabbids. You mean the Rabbids from that Rabbids thing from Rayman?
From Rayman. No. They're McDonald's. The McDonald's singing boxes, right? No, it's the Minions movie. Although, okay, I still maintain that those Disney singing Happy Meal boxes are just a really transparent copy of the Minions.
Well, the Minions are, like I said, are pretty similar to the Rabbids from the whole Rayman shit, and those predate Despicable Me even too.
So
they're all the same archetype of little tiny
games.
Annoying guys.
Yeah,
kids love them,
and a lot of adults do. A lot of adults. I'm not saying we do. I'm just saying I know of many adults who seem to love those little minions. I don't know why.
Are you sure they're adults?
I could understand maybe liking them in a very short form, like just kind of like a 1 minute cartoon, or just as like a little punchline or a background gag. But anyway.
It really seemed like the cartoon equivalent of like the Dick hit these days. You know, like the Dick punch. Like, oh, that guy got hit in the dick. That's so funny. Like, oh, the yellow guy fell down.
He can't say words very well.
I mean, I understand it. I mean, no offense to people who like it, but that's my personal opinion there.
Yeah. Well,
that's my hot take.
But
for
anyway,
the day.
the artists behind it are pretty good. Like, they have some good sense of design, and the trailer for this one, The Secret Lives of Pets, seems fairly interesting. Although, I mean, just visually, and some of the gags are good. Although it feels very Pixar-like in the whole, what do toys do when people turn away? What if toys had feelings? What if feelings had feelings? What if pets had feelings, I guess?
I love that what if feelings have feelings is a real thing that Pixar's doing.
Which is coming out the end of at least of recording this week, so who knows? It's already out in some places and people seem to like it, so we'll have to see how it turns out. In terms of the other trailer that's out this week is the full, so we've already seen teaser versions of this, but the actual full trailer for this is out. It is the Peanuts movie done by Blue Sky. And for this one, I really love what they have done in terms of adapting the style. And
it looks dope.
It looks like his art style. It does it keeps a lot of the same kind of camera angles as you would have seen his compositions in, but at the same time it adds a lot of the depth and environment that CG is able to give this type of thing, as opposed to the television versions of these, which were very sparse.
It's interesting that it looks really 2D, but it's patently not, and they don't even try to kind of maintain the sort of 2D dimensions to it. But it still has the look of like, oh, this looks like they took, Charles Schultz, comic and just put it on the screen, just kind of depthed it out. It's interesting.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think in general, Blue Sky has some really good artistic talent. In even in the other films that I haven't liked as much. I just have to hope that in this case, I'm just hoping that the story works out. And I think but I mean, they're also dealing with a lot of really good reference material. I mean, it's based off of Peanuts, so like there's a lot of really good character stuff that is pretty much already written for them. So they basically just have to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. In this case, it is theirs to lose. I'm excited for it, at least.
Yeah. In another bit of news, hey, it's E3 in the gaming world, the electronic triple, as they say. And there's some mild animation stuff that's come out of it. At least, well, some of it's stuff that we know about, and some of it's kind of really minor. But I think thought it'd be fun to just kind of touch on it because why not? Microsoft was showing again Cuphead, which is an independent game produced by I forget in the short term now.
And don't forget his brother, his Luigi Mughead. How
Yeah,
dare you?
yeah, it's by Studio MDHR, which I've never heard of before. It's apparently two brothers making it. It's two brothers in a van. No, and it's basically it's like an old like 1930s style cartoon, but it's actually also a like boss battle game. It's really odd, but it looks really cool. Just look it up on YouTube. It looks neat. It's a
Yeah,
running gun game.
the style that they have picked for it, they've executed it. I mean, just perfectly. I mean, they got the character design style. They have the rubber hose animation thing going. Even the color choices. I mean, yes, it's in color, which is kind of unusual, but the color palettes that they were using when they were starting color, they kind of nailed that too.
And they're kind of also embracing a lot of sort of the subversive stuff that used to exist in some of those older cartoons before they got kind of kidified. There's,
Well,
a
yeah, I
lot
mean,
of cartoon
considering
satans hanging out and that sort of thing. And I mean, the whole plot of it, I believe, is like, basically trying to fight some bosses to repay a debt to the devil. I believe the framework for it.
yeah, that's the plot
And
is.
and there were used to be some amount of subversiveness to those 30 cartoons sometimes.
Well, I mean, even
But
some of the later ones from Warner Brothers where characters literally killed themselves.
sure. Though that's
Not
just
off
kind of a difference
screen
in
either.
attitudes, but yeah.
So, but I'm excited.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I own neither of the platforms it's supposed to be on.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's going to be on Windows and Xbox One, but you could always, Windows box probably on your Mac, I
I
guess.
could, but that would involve me doing a partition and installing the new Microsoft OSs, which I'm not a fan of, or at least in the cases I've had to use those newer
Hmm.
OSs.
So it goes. Other things.
The Dota.
There's a Rick and Morty Dota 2 announcer pack, which is another thing. Like, hey, even if you don't have interest, just check out the YouTube video for it. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how he, yes, it's all actually one. Again, it's one voice actor voicing both characters. Basically, kind of just like starts breaking out laughing in the middle of it, just because of how some of them are kind of a little silly and dumb. And
Well, it's entirely self-aware of what it is.
sure,
It's meta on a weird level. So it's
sure,
meta not just on the game itself, but on the act of having him record those characters for that game.
sure. And then Mr. Meeseeks is a courier in the game that you can get now, complete with "I'm Mr. Meeseeks, look at me."
Well, yeah,
Ah, good old Mr. Meeseeks.
yes. I mean
Uh,
that was a big standout character.
yeah, big standout character for the one episode. He was pretty great.
Yeah. Well, I mean he became basically a meme, so of course
Oh,
something like
anything
Dota
can become
would.
a meme, and also fuck that.
The other thing I remember seeing is Dreams at E3, where it was that thing where it's kind of like a game, but it's also just it's like building your own weird art installation that has like animated elements in it.
It's kind of like a poser with an art filter on. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like a poser with an art filter, and it's got like a paintbrush built in. It's weird.
And I guess the other thing I can think of is the footage for the new Ratchet and Clank game. That's
Coming out 2016, I believe.
yeah, and I like the fact that they are very aware of it. They're like play the game that's based off of a movie that's based off of a game, and it's kind of like a reboot. It's like a remake, but they're apparently doing more with it than just remaking the levels. And the footage that I've seen of it, the style, it looks really good. Just on a production design level, it looks really nice. Like all the background elements and the overall color choices and the animation itself is just really different than a lot of the stuff you're seeing out there.
Okay, but
Well, at
what's
least
your
it's
opinion?
different than what you see from a non-Nintendo kind
Okay,
of company.
okay. Well, then here's a question for you. What's your stance on the eyebrows?
Oh, right.
The Japanese release got heavy eyebrows. U.S. release, not so much. What's your take on that? What's your hot take?
I think I
Sending
don't
you a picture of the eyebrows as a refresher.
Well, I mean, I remember when I went to Japan when I was a kid, and I would see the Japanese game cover for Ratchet and Clank, and for them, those were illustrations.
Mm-hmm.
So for those, they never really had um, a CG render of what he looked like, and he had this manic look with those really caterpillar eyebrows on it. So, but I'm guessing in this case, they're actually adding those
Yep.
into the Japanese ship of the game. So it's not just in the art; they're actually giving him Groucho Marx eyebrows.
Hell yeah, giant caterpillars on his fucking face. Great.
It's
And
weird because it's not even the right color, so like it screws up the entire color scheme of his face too.
yeah, people just have different color eyebrows.
I mean, hey, that's their fetish. You just have to let them have it.
Are you implying that Japan's got a fetish for eyebrows? Because I believe it.
Well, I'm sure.
They'll explain. Okay, but then on that token, explain why in the U.S. Kirby gets eyebrows. Huh? Explain that.
Only to express his inner rage.
Yeah.
Kirby's wife and daughter were killed, Zorak. Give me
DDD
back my
fucking
family.
DDD fucking ate his family.
Now
Explains a lot.
Now he's grizzled 20 years later, drinking gin, and along comes a new dame who reminds him either of his wife or daughter that he has to protect this time. This time he'll do it right.
And that dame's a giant hamster.
Yes.
Where's this going? I don't know. And speaking of also of long sequences of animation, Final Fantasy VII. Boob jokes!
Yes. I can't wait for them to take all the fun and humor out of it and keep.
I can't wait for like a high
else
polygon version of Cloud riding the dolphin.
Yeah. I hope they do keep the weirdness in there because otherwise, without it, the game is just overly long self-seriousness that doesn't even make sense upon
There's a lot of goofy
observation.
shit in that game. Like out of like some of the goofiest shit in like Final Fantasies exist in that game just for weird because they were doing like weird tech demo stuff where they just shoved in lots of weird mini games and just like lots of weird sequences. Like, oh, Cloud has to cross dress right now, or hey, Cloud showed up in this bath with everybody. What's up with that?
Cloud snowboards.
Yeah.
Cloud gets into a squatting contest.
Hey, what about the time a Cloud has to find someone to take on a date at the theme park, and then the best one is just take and bear it with you. Screw it.
And then they have to escape a room full of gas by moving their head, neck, and shoulders to get a key. There's a lot of really weird minigames in there, but like overall, like I wonder how that kind of weirdness is going to mesh with the new aesthetic that they're going to be going for. Like it's going to be even weirder.
Dunno.
Like they could kind of get away with that oddity and that kind of abstract humor.
With the old sprites where they're super lo-fi.
Yeah, because you can then in your head you're filling in all that detail.
What if
reality?
What if they keep the old sprites, the lo-fi sprites, but now they're just like high def? They're not so.
So they're still
organized.
deformed looking and
There's
horrible.
like a deformed little like tiny little like man with like stubby legs is going around with beautiful anime eyes. His arms flex now, but he's still just kind of a tiny horrifying thing.
Giant shoulder muscles, tiny biceps, but then suddenly his forearm is all pop-eyed. But you can see every damn sinew in it. Also,
Absolutely.
subsurface scattering for the skin,
Yeah, like the realistic sweat modeling, everything.
Just like the Smurfs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, at least the more recent Smurfs. Yes. So It's exciting. I think there might be a chance later to do a conversation about animation and video games because in a lot of ways they're pretty much the same thing, and at least I kind of view it as animation being really important into games these days. But
Certainly with the graphic stuff, like just kind of related to this E3, like those feather physics in Last Guardian look pretty dope.
Yeah. And then you also have the opposite end of the spectrum where the Bethesda games still don't have a decent running animation.
Yeah. Yeah, and that dog does not look good in Fallout. They have never made a dog look good in Fallout.
No.
They need to get that COD, that Call of Duty dog tech, where they modeled that dog. That dog looked pretty good. Like Call of Duty spent all that money getting that dog in like the little suit for doing the motion tracking. They should, like, Bethesda should pay for that data or something. A
Something.
really good looking dog.
But that would require
Anyways,
effort. Anyway, lots of E3 coverage, lots of interesting stuff coming out of it. There's too much for
and
us
a
to
lot of
even cover on here.
uninteresting stuff too.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of uninteresting stuff, or just downright weird, like that strange Shin Megami Tensei Fire Emblem crossover game.
Supposedly the
thing.
gameplay for that is pretty good.
It's not that I'm saying it's going to be bad. It's still very. It's probably
It's another thing that's just like idols, guys, idols. Let me tell you about the idols.
It is the most, and I hate using this word as an adjective or even as a pejorative. It's the most anime thing that has come out of Atlas. Out of
And that's
Atlas,
saying a
guys.
lot because
Yes.
Persona gets like really like the dancing all night thing. I mean, come on, that's
Yes.
super anime.
Well, to be fair, that's a spin-off game as opposed to this is like its own.
It's also
thing.
a spin-off game technically, though.
Yeah.
But that is.
But either way, it's something you have to see to believe. Anyway, so let's go on to the main topic for this week, Disney's Frozen. So I'm only going to do just a little bit of background on this because honestly, it's so well known, and you could go to Wikipedia or something and read paragraphs and paragraphs about the production and how it started out and all that. So just the basic facts: 2013, directed by Chris Buck, who is originally an animator at Disney, who then moved up to being a director. So he directed, was at least co-director on Tarzan, and then another film called Surf's Up. And then the other director on this was Jennifer Lee, who was a writer on Wreck-It Ralph. The songs were composed by Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, who are a husband-wife writing team who've mostly been known for their work on Broadway. So they're the ones that did the music for Book of Mormon and Avenue Q. And then I think the rest of the scoring was done by Christoph Beck, whose song you might recognize from that short they did at Disney called Paperman. So that's about it as the background. I mean, it's based off of the Snow Queen, but almost not at all. I mean,
it's got kind of like a queen with ice, and that's it.
It's set somewhere in Scandinavia, I guess, but other than that, it has nothing to do with that story in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
Like, not at all.
A lot more to do with Disney's previous film of this style, Tangled, in the sense that it's kind of just based off of that sort of formula that they did there.
And speaking of Tangled, I just have to say that the same face problem is getting really severe with this movie.
Uh-huh.
I have to say that I find most of the female faces in this film just creepy looking.
Honestly, I find a lot. The CG looks really good in this in general, but I don't like it. I mean, it looks nice.
It's
like,
it's well made. It
don't has
think...
a nice style, but it's almost a little uncanny valley for me.
Yeah.
It's a little too far into like we're trying to maintain all the little things of the human face, and it's like you're not quite there. You're getting kind of the weird ground. I kind of wish you'd go a little more stylized with this,
or go a little bit more realistic. Because I saw this really interesting Photoshop where someone took those screens and they still kept it stylized, but they changed the proportions so the eyes, at least on the women, weren't so huge, and they kind of rearranged it so that they aren't like almost at the same level as their nose, and it ended up looking pretty good without falling into the uncanny valley thing either. So like they either need to go further stylized or a little bit more realistic. Somewhere here it just didn't work. It's a second uncanny valley. It's like an uncanny creek. Something that's next to it that's like, okay, I either go a little bit more realistic or go way more cartoony. It also just looks very similar just in the human features design towards Tangled. I mean, it feels like they were both done.
It's partially because they made their tech for Tangled, and after spending how much money they spent on it, which was a lot, they kind of like, hey, they reused it. They've spent all that money on that hair tech. They're going to use that hair tech again. God damn it, that hair is expensive. There's like it takes them like how many like hundreds of hours to render a single shot of that hair.
Yeah. And then otherwise, I felt that a lot of the backgrounds and the environments, while I think probably accurate, didn't really feel that interesting to me.
No.
Like the kingdom of Arendelle does not really interest me visually that much. I mean, other than yes, they did a good job accurately kind of mixing in the Sami and Nordic styles into a couple things, but in general, it didn't feel fantastical or interesting or stylized. I mean, again, these are fairly stylized people and figures. I felt that they kind of could have done just a little bit of that extra kind of fantasy stylized element, like just make things a little bit off. Like if you have a building, do some odd stuff with the windows so they don't feel too realistic or something. It
I
just
think I
didn't.
could have gone with this is that I could have liked if they also just pulled out a bit more to give us kind of more wide shots because they don't really spend any time doing establishing shots on the environment. So
It seems
the
very
overall
uninterested in
geometry
its
feels a bit
environment.
weird.
I mean,
Yeah.
most of the movie takes place with everything covered in snow anyway,
Yeah, sure.
but that doesn't necessarily make it that interesting or rich, I think, in that regard. And so it ends up being about these characters, but the characters are all fairly pale-skinned, light-haired characters to begin with, so they blend into that background fairly well. So there's not a lot of visual contrast. At least it didn't feel
Yeah.
like to me. I mean, there's a few places where I thought were really beautifully well done, and you have the night sky and the stars and the castle that Elsa eventually builds for herself. Looks really well done. It's just that the rest of that world wasn't as fascinating to me. It just wasn't as rich, I think.
Yeah, this movie really left me cold.
So I guess we can go over the basic plot, and kind of, and as we go through it, we kind of see certain issues that I have with it popping out, where the character logic doesn't really make any sense, or also just in general things that I thought were awful. So
Yeah, it feels a little nitpicky to some degree, kind of going through this, though. It's that's what we're here for. But this is a film made for a younger female audience. It's what their primary target audience is,
and they seem to have succeeded on it.
And I'm just gonna say, even before going on this, hey, they did pretty well with doing what they set out to do. I think. In
Yes.
fact, one of my complaints I'd say with this is that this feels a little transparently kind of just going for their target audience and just kind of being a little cynical about it.
Well, I mean, you're dealing with Disney,
It's
which
Disney,
not
true.
just
Which
as
Disney
a,
only is cynical to some degree. I mean, there are some creative forces at work at Disney, but yes, but a lot of the aspects of how this project came to what it is feels like, hey, a lot of committees and a lot of shaking of hands happened to get to
well,
this point.
again, I think it comes down to Disney, and you have
Yep.
Disney as a corporation and all of the arms and the synergistic aspects of what's going on to this movie. I mean, Disney has a music side, it has a pop idol side, it has all this types of stuff. So this film in particular is a big fusion of a lot of what has been driving Disney's bottom line. I mean, you have the film itself, but then you have a lot of the merchandising. You have, I mean, especially in the music. I
Oh,
mean,
so much
you
merchandising.
spend like 30 minutes of this film is just these songs.
Yeah.
So,
Eh? So, yeah, anyways, yeah, I'm just saying, like, hey,
well, hey,
we're getting a bit
art and
nitpicky,
commerce
but
can
just
be
say
separate.
outright, yeah, it does what it set out to do.
Yes. But just because it was successful does not mean more better.
Sure. I'm just saying that some of them, I know for a fact, looking at my complaints here, some of these are going to get real, like, why are you complaining about this in a children's film? Like, because I watched it, god damn it, and it was what I just kept thinking about.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I've got opinions on molecular systems, okay? We're going to get into this.
All right. So let's get started. So Elsa, who is the princess, I guess. I mean, well, one of the two
She
princesses.
is a princess, yeah.
Of a
She's
a
the
Nordic,
crowned
vaguely
princess.
Nordic themed country called Arendelle, whose export, I guess, is ice and fjords. I guess that's what their entire economy is. But
Hey, man, that sometimes ice was expensive for a while there, man.
yep. And so she is born with these kind of ice powers, which I guess is never really explained, and I don't necessarily need it to be explained per se, but it would kind of help me understand how that world works. I
don't
guess
think you
like
need
how
to know,
it views
though.
this
Just
type
magic,
of thing.
Man, magic just sometimes is, dog. Just let it go. That's
Well,
fine.
well, yes, no, I understand that, but I mean, in the sense that like the fact that they had to hide it from the public.
Okay, that was
That's
the part.
what I mean
That's
by
where
how
my
that world
suspension of
works.
disbelief just kind of falls apart because they don't rationalize that ever. They never go like, they never give us a good example of like, oh, if you tell everybody, they're gonna think you're a freak and set you on fire or whatever. It's like,
Yeah, they don't establish that. That's what I mean by the magic existing.
sure,
It's
sure.
like, is that world where everyone
how
goes...
they kind of like set it up with her showing off her powers with her sister Anna, and then eventually Anna does dumb crap styling on the ice, and then
and gives her literal brain freeze.
Gets her brain frozen because it's great. And then they're like, then the king and queen just come in like after hearing her yell because hey, nobody else is in this palace for one, and for two, clearly, monarchical, monarchs have this close of relationships with their children in medieval times.
Yeah, that was the other thing is there is no one else in that castle. There's like, I mean, especially for children in a lot of monarchical families, like they have basically a subset of parents for them. The wet nurse. The
royalty did not, at that time, the royalty did not raise them at all. I mean, calling back to one of the discussions we had during like the Rose of Versailles discussion, like, and Antoinette in there, they specifically call out as being a bad queen because she's spending time with her children.
Yes, see that then, and that's exactly the part of it. So like. And again, like, if this is a fantasy world, you can kind of buy that, but at the same time, they aren't establishing it that much as a fantasy world.
Sure, and it's still at the same time, like, sure, they can go with that, like, but it still falls into the old, kind of grown-ready thing of, Disney's keeping up that train of just glorifying monarchy.
Yeah.
Choo, choo, choo. Got to keep that train rolling.
But either way, it's only this incident that causes Elsa to fear and hide her powers.
Well, it's even then she's kind of like, oh, is she okay? But they decide, like, because the king has a book about trolls or something. Like, hey, I know what we got to do. We have to go to the forest and find these trolls by ourselves.
And let's take a pause here. Fuck these trolls. They are the worst fucking characters.
They suck.
I hate them.
Screw their
so
musical
much.
number too. That musical number sucked.
It's awful, and they're not cute. They're not interesting. They're not funny. There's nothing really good about them. And they're the ones that cause like the
funny thing is they look like they're trying to be like talking earlier. Like they look like they're trying to be the minions or something from just be like in terms like they got the stubby little dimensions.
They kind of ruin this movie in the same way that those gargoyles ruin the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Where you have like, oh, this could be a nice narrative. Oh, no, we have to have the stone elf talk about how it wants to fuck a pigeon, or that this guy's a fixer-upper, or I guess save the girl from brain freeze, but by implanting basically a time bomb in her brain.
Yeah, that was dumb. Like that whole thing really, like a lot of the film has like super convenient writing. Like, oh, the only way this film will work is if we get really convenient about it. Like, oh, hey, what if like the boy that's going to be relevant later at random sees the trolls healing her brain here, and he's the only one that has any real recollection of this. Like, hey, what if the troll all of a sudden's like, yo, dog, we have to remove your sister's memory of your magic powers because I don't know. This is going to result in issues later, but fuck it, I'm going to do it. Whatever, you can't stop me. I'm a troll.
And not just remove those memories. Oh, well, if she does remember or ever find out about these powers,
they never said that,
your brain just, explodes? Like,
they never say that. It's just like, hey, we're going to do it to remove the whatever. I'm going to remove like the ice from her brain, but I'm also going to alter her memories because her knowing it somehow going to cause problems, but it only just results in even greater problems because it just completely ruins Elsa as a person for like half her life.
Yeah, like how to give a child a complex, the film. Like these parents are really bad at dealing with that type of emotional pain.
Yeah, it's really stupid. Like oh, how do the parents handle this? Like, oh, go stay in your room for the rest of your life, whatever.
Yeah,
until you can figure out how to wield your have control of your ice powers, and teaching the person about their ice powers and say like, the troll's like, yeah, if you have ice powers, you're just gonna murder everyone. Bye.
Yeah, wouldn't they have like, hey, why don't we have a troll teach her over time how to control it? Because they seem to know what's up. We don't. No one in this castle or kingdom has any idea.
Yeah, like the whole issue is like her like suppressing it and like suppressing her emotions and that's what she's doing because she's afraid of hurting people because that's what her parents and this dumb troll's telling her what to do is ultimately the cause of all of her problems relating to her powers.
Yeah, and not only is it bad for one daughter, it's also equally terrible for the other daughter. It's really
Because now the
awful
other
for Anna because now the little girl will. I mean, not just the fact that her brain, I guess, will explode if she remembers anything, but
which I'm
also
not sure if
this.
that's actually the case. I think they
Well,
just are covering that up without saying anything.
either way, but if she, it just screws up her relationship with her sister, who's now
And
this kind of weird Emily Dickinson locked in the attic type of character who's never allowed to see out. Like, oh, that is Mary Beth. We don't talk about her. She lives upstairs. It's like,
okay, cave guy. But they also have the other thing of like, oh, so Anna's just locked in this castle for all of her life without anybody to interact with. Like, boy, I wonder if things are going to go really well when they open up the door. Oh, she's immediately getting married to somebody. Great.
yeah. So, well, let's not forget that this is a Disney movie. So one or both of the parents has to die, not on camera. So they have to die at sea and just have their painting. Just be a stand-in for that. So it ends up that Elsa and Anna are now the sole, not proprietors. They're
the sole proprietors
of
Arendelle,
country. This kingdom that we really don't know that much about, other than it exists somewhere in pseudo fantasy Scandinavia.
And it trades ice to some short idiot with a mustache.
Well, I think that yeah, and so what they do is they're the big they've shut themselves up in this castle, and until Elsa comes of age, so that way she can actually be coronated queen for real. But then who's actually running this country otherwise? Because there is no one else in this fucking castle. And that kingdom, I guess, if it's important
she had
enough...
guards and stuff, and they had the guy with, like, they had a couple guys with mustaches who were there, and, like, ladies.
I guess. So
there had to be some amount of staff, but they basically said, like, oh, reduce staff. So they had some bare minimum staff there. They had some
and
other
none of that
beings.
staff has ever encountered any of these ice powers. At
Apparently
any point.
so.
Like, nobody. Like, okay. Best kept secret ever. And so, here's the other thing is Arendelle has to be important enough because, as a part of this big coronation, a whole bunch of these delegations from other countries are there to arrive. And one of them is, I think the joke throughout the whole thing is it's supposed to be Wesselton, but everyone calls it Weaselton. And he wants to...
or something,
that Weaseltown or something like that. And the whole thing with him is he's supposed to be a villain, but he ends up really not doing much of anything at all. And he's also,
he doesn't make any damn sense with all of his interactions there because he's like
he
like
wants
they
to
open
exploit
up with
the kingdom in some way, but it's
he outright says, "Everyone finds a
terms.
place to exploit here. I mean, work here." Did I say that out loud? And then he does a dumb dance. That's supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Does he slip on something and land in cold water and people just roll their eyes like, oh, silly you. But then we also have, and one of the people coming to visit is Prince Hans of the Southern Isles. And this is where Anna, who has been like a homeschool girl who's been released to the world for the first time, she encounters this guy and decides, you know what? He's willing to put up with my horrible monkey cheese random humor. I think I'll marry him.
I don't think she was that bad, though she was also pretty, yeah.
Well, in that song is, we finish each other's sandwiches.
Yeah, well, again.
Yeah, I mean, that got a
younger
little bit
female
much.
audience, it's like, oh, it's just so funny.
But so she tries to decides like, you know what, I'm just gonna marry this dude because I can. I just want to escape this castle.
Well,
Maybe
she also's got like a kind of idea, a romanticized notion of romantic love, like, oh, it's love at first sight. And then of course she meets the first candidate that can fall under that umbrella, and hey, he's got to be the one. It's true love.
Hey, he's a prince, she's a princess. This is how all Disney movies go. And apparently she must be at least somewhat aware of that narrative going on behind her.
And I did enjoy the fact that they immediately go to like Elsa. It's like, we want your blessing here, and Elsa's basically like, fuck no.
What? Well, and a whole bunch of other people. Like, everybody else's reaction is at least like pretty much like accurate, and they're like, what the fuck are you thinking? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, for a lot of this movie has a lot of annoying character stuff in it, but I did like Kristoff having
gag.
Such a kind of like, the fuck is going on, like mindset to some of this stuff, like character stuff, like
he's the most grounded of all of them, and he's a guy that basically probably fucks his reindeer. Like, I just...
It's true.
And that's the closest thing to a grounded character that this film has.
Hey, man, he's also got those annoying trolls. Don't forget about them.
They're not grounded.
They literally live in the ground. They're made out of stone.
Well,
how more grounded can you get?
They're not grounded because I hate them.
But anyways, so
this argument about this really dumb, potential shotgun wedding, it causes Elsa to have an emotional breakdown and create eternal winter. And runs off.
Well, no. First off, she just basically just a little ice things, and then the random Duke guy with the mustache, like, rah, guards, arrest her. She's got magic powers. It's like, wait, what?
Dude,
what?
Like, you're not even from here.
It's like, how can you command the guards here? How do you have any say in, like, what? Like, what is the first reaction? Like, oh, she iced some ground. Get her. It's like, she's the fucking queen. What are you doing? You can't just do that. You can get away with a lot being royalty, as it turns out. You can be a Catholic, royal in England, in like a Protestant, or Anglican country and shit. You can get away with a lot. I think magic powers goes kind of low on the scale of things. Plus the whole, rule by God stuff. Hey.
Yeah, like if we're dealing with this type of king and queen system, divine right of kings is kind of a thing. So, like,
how do you think that family probably gained control of that country, using their genetic ice powers to seize control from other tribes in the ancient prehistory?
Well, that's why there's no
As
other.
you see in my Frozen fan fiction.
Well, that's why there's no other dukes and lords in their system.
Yeah, they don't. Need
they were all
They got the
frozen
ice
to
powers. They don't need other nobility to help, keep the reins of power within the royal family and help control the masses. They got ice powers.
Well, yeah, there's no other family to compete with them.
Yeah, her running away, period, at that moment was a bit dumb. It's another example of, hey, things happen that are awfully convenient, and yeah, you can rationalize them, but man, are they just convenient for the narrative? Like, oh, Elsa used ice powers and is shocked by this. She's afraid. Oh, she's going to run away immediately.
Well, for a couple reasons, I guess, is the fear of that, but then also the fear of causing Anna to... Well, again, I keep on saying brain explode, but they don't
explain it. That's not a thing.
It.
You're just assuming. They never say that. That's not a thing. They don't ever say, like, oh, if she finds out, she'll freeze up. No, that wasn't a thing. You're just like, oh, I'm removing these memories. That's it. You've constructed this explanation because they never give one.
How else do they explain that the parents would never go?
They don't!
That's what I mean. The parents, like, how does she not know that she has these powers? Just because those memories were taken away doesn't mean that the parents could pull aside as, okay, the reason she's not able to come out of her room is because she has dangerous ice powers.
Well, no.
Like, they never explained that to their
No, they
child.
never explained it to her. They just never tell her. They just, like, that's the whole thing, like, that's part of her whole, like, issues, like her parents fucking this all up. It's like, oh, my sister became a fucking jerk and just went in her room and emotionally locked up. I don't understand why. One day we were all friends and then I fell off an ice thing and then she stopped hanging out with me. They never bother explaining it. They never bother rationalizing it. And they never, as far as I'm aware, they never add like a, hey, here's why. I mentioned this being one of my complaints about this on Twitter, and some people tried saying, like, hey, maybe the trolls wanted to stop her from hating, like, blaming, like, and being afraid of her sister Elsa. But, like, yeah, oh, she isn't afraid of her sister Elsa. She just never interacts with her, for, a decade and a half, and then has a horrible relationship with her anyways.
And also thinks her sister hates her.
Assholes.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, what does that accomplish? It doesn't accomplish anything. Like, the whole takeaway I have from this is that, one, the Troll King is a fucking idiot, and two, their parents suck.
Yeah, that's pretty much a big part of it.
And it's convenient suckitude and convenient idiocy, because it's all what enables the narrative of Elsa running away and being like, fuck it, I'm going to make an ice castle.
Yeah, and of course, they have the most famous song from this being the creation of that castle and her going, you know what, I'm going to just embrace these ice powers and make a dress out of ice.
I mean, and that's a cool mindset. I think that's a fine way they could do it. It's just like they never really go
anywhere with that after.
Yeah. It's like I wish they'd been more like, oh, hey, she's throwing off the, her repressing her identity, but then she still does it like, oh, my sister's here. I'm going to still be really repressed about all this stuff.
Yeah.
They never really go into it's like, hey, maybe, they could go down that thematic line more, but they don't. They just use it for a musical number and to do like kind of the imagery of it.
Yeah, they really needed that number, and they really wanted that scene, so they just kind of put it in there, but then didn't go much further with it.
I mean, they could have gone further down that line, I think, or they could have, and that this also being the music number that'll result in a lot of like weird criticism of this film. I remember, like, I didn't see this film until recently, but I remember being really confused. Like, I remember seeing some of the criticism of the film, like, it's a film of a metaphor for sexuality or something. Like, what? It's like, and then seeing the actual musical number, I'm like, huh? Where did people get like this? Like, I remember doing like some weird like complaints about like, oh, it's teaching bad attitudes about not following the wrong things. There's a lot of weird stuff, man. People complain about Disney stuff and weird stuff, not about the right types of complaints.
Yeah, like they're reading into it that I don't think it intended at all.
No,
like
and
the message
they
behind
criticize
that
the
is
wrong
not anything
things here.
other than it's like it's almost positive in that it's supposed to be about her embracing herself.
Yeah,
and that's actually oddly a fairly
You're not
positive
supposed to embrace
message.
yourself as a girl.
I guess,
don't you know anything?
but I don't think anything about that is supposed to lend to sexuality. But anyway, so
I know,
this whole
I
thing
don't know.
causes Anna to go like, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to go find my sister, even though I have only talked to her for this one day since like since we
I don't
were
know. Maybe
like
they have like some really torturous like dinners together where they say nothing.
yeah." So
They could have interacted otherwise. I don't know. But yeah, she decides to go, it's my fault for scaring her away or something. I'm going to do it. Hey, random prince, you take over while I do this.
Yeah.
This turns out to be a great decision.
Well, for everybody involved. I mean,
Yeah.
Anna is just really good at making life choices.
Yeah.
As we will always see. So she goes off to I guess the frozen winter wilderness with no plan and no supplies. She runs into Kristoff as who we mentioned earlier is probably fucking his oddly sentient reindeer.
Look, well, no, I like the one aspect of like his relationship with the reindeer where it's just that he's so cripplingly lonely that he inserts like a voice for his reindeer. His reindeer doesn't actually say anything ever. He just speaks for the reindeer.
Oh no, I'm saying is that the reindeer has a lot of anthropomorphism in the sense that it is aware though of a lot of things.
Probably.
Like it doesn't speak, but it has higher intelligence on some level.
I mean, reindeer are pretty smart, man.
But it does not have a voice to tell him no.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, so she encounters him. He decides like, I don't think she should die because this girl will on her own just freeze to death in this wilderness. So he decides to
also
help.
she got some carrots. She's got the money.
Right, she does. And then they encounter
Sugar mom.
Then they encounter Olaf.
Oh, fucking Olaf.
The snowman that
the
they had
trolls
created
were not
as a
enough
kid.
in terms of having like advertising things. Like we need to put something funny in here. What if their childhood snowman came to life and he was goofy?
Although I like Olaf better than the trolls because
Absolutely.
Olaf's thing with him is he's just mentally a baby and that he's just approaches everything with pure innocence. He's not annoying in the same way that he's suddenly modern sensibilities and precociousness being given to this creature.
Sure.
He is basically like a baby, and so like his innocence is actually kind of endearing and funny.
He's kind of a funny character, but he has no point.
Yeah, he's really incidental. I mean, there's a lot of things that are incidental to this movie.
Yeah, he's completely pointless other than like, hey, we need a mascot character. His song was actually the best one in the film, though.
Well, yeah, because it has the most jokes in it. It's basically the most you really laugh in this one.
Yeah, his song was pretty funny about like him wanting to be out in the summer and that.
Well, and then they always give him like the rhyme leads you to him having a realization, but his brain being what it is, it dodges it.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It says like by summer
where they're
I'll
doing
be,
like the puns where
instead
obviously
of
gonna
puddle, and they have him coming across a physical puddle, and he goes, "Well, happy snowman."
And that was pretty good. Like I like that aspect of it. And I like Kristoff's interactions with Olaf. Olaf are pretty funny.
Yeah, like again, they made him work again because he's not suddenly pop culture spewing, wise guy, one raised eyebrow DreamWorks face.
But at
like
the same
that's
time,
the one good. I mean, he's unnecessary.
He is so unnecessary. Like
Yes.
he is the perfect example of, hey, this film would have been a better film if it lacked him in terms of be a much more solid and concrete and cohesive film. But it wouldn't be as good of a marketing potential and as good as a Disney film without him.
And he provides a lot of the much needed humor in the latter half of the film.
Sure, there is that aspect of it. I'll give you that.
Because otherwise,
like
you mostly just have Kristoff and the reindeer, and they're not. They're funny, but they're not funny enough to carry enough humor through the rest of it.
But then they should have given Olaf a bit more to do than just be like, yeah, I'm here. I'm nice. Remember me? I'm a reminder of your childhood. Okay. Yep, I survived to the end. Huh. Wow. Huh. That's it. That's his arc.
Remember, kids, childhood lasts forever. Hold on to it.
Yeah, like if they gave him
clutch
some sort of
clutch
arc.
it in your hands like you would an action figure or a really expensive plastic toy based off of something that you remember as a child. Just clutch it forever.
Make sure to buy new ones if you can't find your old ones. Buy multiple copies. Put them on all your shelves. Stare at them. Remember when you used to be happy. No, but like... I think it would be better if he had some sort of arc, even if it was the slightest of arcs.
He kind of does something near the end, like he saves Anna when she gets betrayed. Like, but other than that, like
that's not an arc. That's just him fulfilling like a role that could have been.
Well, yeah,
like...
he's a narrative device.
Sure, but if he had like some sort of arc where he gained like some semblance of intelligence or something, like the only arc that they gave him is at the end, Elsa gives him a snow cloud. That's his arc.
Yeah, I mean,
he won't die in the summer now.
If his existence was what brought them back together again, because he was based off of the snowman they made as a kid, like that would have worked. But they don't do that enough that can even be a thing.
He's not the emotional crux. He's just like, hey, I'm a snowman. You want a hug? That's it. It's like it doesn't even make that big of a point because like she immediately kicks Anna out anyways. It's like, oh, well, I didn't accomplish all that much.
Yeah.
All right. But anyways, they go up to the snow castle and
they meet, and it seems like things are going to go somewhat okay. But then I guess Elsa's powers go crazy, and it hits Anna in the chest, and just basically a nice Vietnam flashback style thing to her as a kid freezing on his brain.
Yeah, and the weird rationalization, like, no, a frozen brain is easy to heal, but a frozen heart, that's difficult. I'm a troll.
Which is weird. So yeah. So well, okay. So this
from a rational standpoint, it doesn't make any sense. From a magical fantasy Disney sense,
I guess. I mean, the brain keeps the heart beating. So I mean, maybe the frozen brain is what explains Anna's like cognizance and her ability to come to decisions. Like this is where it started. Just like being dropped on your head as a baby. This is what happens when you freeze your child's brain.
That would make more sense if she became like more emotionally cold as the film went on, but she doesn't. She just slowly dies.
No, Zorak, her hair starts turning white.
Yeah, exactly. She starts becoming.
She starts aging
anime.
Prematurely. Uh-oh.
Yeah, she becomes like vaguely frozen stuff. I don't know, like some weird freezing effects. Like that's all there is to it. Like if they gone like with it, like it had emotional effects, or like hey, it
affected her personality in some way,
or somehow like she became emotionally cold, and then like she remembered her love of her sister, and that that sort of thing. But no, they don't go far enough with the themes that they're trying to pitch.
Yeah, because that way, at least the actual true love thing, having that emotional be both the cure would match the cause. Yeah,
because like it would match the symptoms more, because the symptoms are just arbitrary. Like she's
just gonna freeze to ice. Like, well, wouldn't that have been the same thing if she just froze her brain or froze another part of her body?
But a frozen brain is hard to heal, but is easy to heal.
Well, no, like So, but like what if she had slightly missed and like hit her appendix or something?
A frozen appendix. You could cure appendix, but a heart.
But we have to remove her memory of her favorite foods. No liver for her anymore.
We can't leave this. Okay, but anyways, basically
Kristoff
gets
takes her
attacked
to
by
the awful
random
trolls that raised him, I guess, And
wait,
the
hold
trolls
on.
call him a
Hold on,
fixer-upper.
hold on. There's one thing more I want to complain about first.
Okay.
The chase scene with the giant ice thing.
Oh, right. She creates a horrible ice monster to keep everybody from getting back to the castle.
And basically almost kills Elsa in the process. Like, great.
The wait, you mean almost
Or no,
kills
Anna
Anna
in the process.
almost kills Anna. So basically, it's a lot like in the Star Wars prequels, where it's like my whole thing of turning evil is my fear of losing you. So I'm going to choke you.
Yeah.
Like
yeah. Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. So there's that thing, and then they go to the trolls, and then the trolls do a fucking terrible song. Oh, God, it was so bad. About, hey, why don't you marry Kristoff? We like him. We think you're here for relationship issues. Isn't that funny? Oh, you're dying? Huh? We're not going to notice it. We're too busy singing about how much he smells.
we like him, but not enough to be nice to him at all.
I mean, that is family. Let's be honest here.
To be fair, I guess they are trolls.
Yeah.
But again, fuck these trolls. I hate them.
Yeah, screw those guys.
So
Those guys
much.
suck.
They're awful. So they get that done with, and they decide to go back down to the kingdom.
Hold on. We have to go to the B plot first.
Oh, right.
The B plot is, hey, Prince. Well, Anna doesn't return. The horse returns that she rode out on, which was the prince's. What was his name again? Prince Rupert?
No, Hans.
Hans. Sorry.
Rupert.
I don't know, man. That went down some. I think that was the Legend of the Galactic Heroes. I don't know.
No, she fell in love with an English bear that wears yellow check trousers and a scarf.
Absolutely, that would have been that. I would like that a little bit more. I think
that would have been a better decision making on her part.
That'd be subversive and it would be interesting. But Prince Hans actually seeming like a nice guy. Like, oh, we need to go find Anna. She's missing. Hey, let's get a bunch of guys and go out there. And then the mustache guy sends a couple of his guards there. He's like, if you find Princess Elsa or Queen Elsa, you should fucking murder her. It's, wait, what? Is it kind
that
of like
will
they
stop the winter?
Because they decide, the thing we forgot to mention is like when she ran away, she caused eternal winter.
Oh, I mentioned that.
And Elsa doesn't think she can actually fix this.
Because she doesn't. Because no one ever took the time to ever educate her about her powers that they instilled the fear of God into her ever using.
What we really need in this film and in this universe is there's like Professor Xavier to show up in his flying wheelchair.
Or just maybe one of those trolls that apparently understands that magic. Supposedly.
Do they understand that magic?
Enough to be able to bullshit it.
We have to remove your memories because... Rah. But anyways, so he goes up there, and Prince Hans, seemingly like a pretty cool guy, like they go up there, and then like the two jerks immediately try to break in and murder Elsa with like arrows. And then there's a fight scene with the troll, and I don't remember, with the ice monster. I don't remember what happens to it. Does it fall off a cliff? It falls off a bridge, an ice bridge.
Yeah, but not enough to die because yeah.
Anyways, so they go on there, and then like Elsa manages to fight off the guys that they're trying to murder, and she's basically threatening to kill them with her ice powers. And then Hans comes in and is like, "Hey, no, don't become what they think what they think you are. Like, don't become the monster that these jerks think you are, because." Prince Hans is coming off as actually a pretty okay guy, as it turns out.
Or at least rational.
Yeah, he seems like a pretty, like, hey, I like the argument he's putting down, like, here. Like, he's saying, like, hey, he could just have these guys get killed. They're being jerks. Whatever. He's like, no, don't need to do that. And then she gets crushed by a chandelier. And then they take her down and put her in chains because, hey, she was kind of freaking the fuck out there. This all seems pretty,
And also she's caused an eternal hellscape winter.
Yeah, this seems all above the level a little bit. Like, he's playing it safe at this point. And then, okay, so
they go to the trolls, and they find out that her heart can only be thawed by, quote, an act of true love, which everybody just assumes, because this being a Disney movie and the characters seem to be aware of how the fantasy convention works, has to be a kiss from her true love, meaning Hans. At least that's who they assume. So they have to go back to Arendelle.
So they take Anna back to Arendelle. They bring her. It's like, take her in. And then Kristoff's like, guess that does that.
All problems solved.
Well, he's emotionally conflicted about all this and whatnot. But, hey, he did what he set out to do. So relatively sensible. And then basically Anna brings in, and like the prince is like, "Oh, Anna, oh, okay," and she's like, "Oh, you gotta kiss me. I'm monkey cheesing out, but I'm also dying. Help!" And then this is where Prince Hans reveals that, oh, actually, all along he was an evil, manipulative monster. Though his manipulations aren't very good, and he actually
his
just wants
plan
her
doesn't
to
make
die.
much sense. Like, I don't know how. Like,
He wanted to marry Anna and then murder Elsa with an accident sometime, and then seize control of the kingdom as a result. But him bringing Elsa back didn't really help anything. Him being a nice guy earlier, or trying to convince Elsa not to murder those guys, didn't really help him at all.
yeah, because if he made her out to be a monster, then it actually would have been a lot easier.
Also, it would have probably, to take this to the most cynical sense, it would have probably been a more sensible plan to have taken the long game here and just slowly got into marrying Anna and not do this immediate, like, I gotta marry right now and I'm gonna immediately try to kill you off Elsa. If he would have taken the long game and realized, hey, Elsa probably isn't gonna marry any guy because look at her, she's being kind of an ice queen, as they say. Do they make that joke? I don't remember if they ever make that joke. I made that joke though. So basically, hey, he could have taken the sensible game, whatever. His whole thing, like, I'm the 13th son of a family. I gotta seize control of a kingdom in the most transparently evil way. Goo ha ha ha. And
how is he going to seize power at this point? Because he wasn't actually married to her yet.
Well, no, he immediately goes into the next room and is like, oh, Anna married me. We've had our last vows as she died. So we got married, but she's dead. She's totally dead. Don't go look in the room where she's actually alive. She's dead. She froze. Elsa killed her.
And only on
I need to kill Elsa now.
That's how secession works, right?
Absolutely. Nobody was there.
There's no like oversight in any way, shape, or form. Some guy that just came there from, not just that, from abroad, from somewhere else.
To be fair, weirder things have happened with monarchies. Going back to the old example of, hey, England, they brought in a lot of foreign kings. Like, nobility brought in foreign kings to fill in roles a lot of times.
But they were already royalty, though.
Well, he was already royalty. He was a prince, just of a different, kingdom. They brought in princes. They have that has happened.
Well,
before.
yes, I know.
They've installed foreign princes. Like, we need a king. It's not the fact that they're
foreign. I mean, that's not unusual. It's the fact that he's foreign and no one else has officiated anything of a wedding. Like, there's no documents, no nothing.
Sure.
Like,
well, sure, but the thing
is,
like, he's been, like, they do establish that he's been kind of building a rapport with these people, and he basically says, hey, I may not have any stance here, but I'm the closest thing they got with you guys all dead.
Yeah, especially because of all the other possible people going to the throne have been frozen to death, I guess, over generations.
Well, I guess, or whatever, and like the other person, like, he's the person who took kind of control here and was kind of granted control. So I admit his logic there makes sense. Like, hey, if both of you die, who else are they gonna go to? Apparently, there's no other like cousins or something.
Well, that's what I mean. There's no other cousins. There's no other dukes and anyone else that could possibly, I guess, in that.
It's another example of, hey, that's awfully convenient narrative.
Like, I don't think they understand how monarchies work or how the government of those types of things work, where you have lots of lords and things like that have to come together to form a nation.
It's a Disney film, though. I do like the sense that they basically subvert, like, the whole true love thing.
That's
like,
okay.
Explicitly go out of it.
Let's
they explicitly go for that, and they fucking just like blast like bullets with it, and like kind of set it on fire. Like, yeah, he was all evil all along. You didn't see that coming, assholes. Whoa, fuck your true love's kiss, shit. Yeah, fucking set it on fire, knock it down.
But they didn't examine it longer than the emotional impact of that moment. That's the problem I have with it.
They did kind of go into it, like, where it's like, oh, wait, Kristoff loved me. Like, they have Olaf show up and like, too bad Kristoff left because he cares about you so much. Boo howdy. And they kind of Olaf make jokes about, like, not realizing that Kristoff is her actual true love. And then they're like, oh,
he also tries to light a fire that's going to kill him but save her. Which is like at least somewhat of a selfless act, and if he had perished from that did kind of at least keep her warm enough long enough, that actually would have been a really nice arc for him.
Sure,
because his symbol
and then bring him back afterwards.
Yeah, or
like I resurrected
like
him after the fact. That would have been an arc, like him like finding like, hey, I'm willing to do this for you because I care about you, and I'm a snowman. And then, hey, Elsa, like, actually, I could just bring
I
him back.
represent
Turns
the
out,
love between you and your sister, and that's going to be what saves you. This
I love
act,
hugs.
this act is going to mirror something that you're going to do.
But no, they didn't really
Why?
do that.
They could have.
They did a little lip service to it, but no.
No, I'm saying
So,
they could have. If they had him do that as a sacrifice there, that would have been a nice mirror for her to essentially pay it forward, which she does in the film to her sister. But they don't.
yeah, well, yeah, but if they first set up with like, oh, Hans is going to murder Elsa after Elsa escaped, they're all running through a massive snowstorm, which is dumb. And then Kristoff is kind of just running also out there, like, cause he's like, oh, I've got to help her because massive snowstorm, something's going wrong. It's like, I'm gonna come out here.
Also, I love her after all.
Yeah, we're just kind of like, I'm gonna admit my feelings, and then they're running towards each other on the ice. Then snowstorm, they lose each other. And then like Hans finds Elsa's like, oh, your sister's dead. You killed her. And then the snowstorm starts because of her emotional distraughtness. And then it turns out they're all within 2 feet of each other, which is really funny to me. Like that thing, I actually started laughing there because it's like, that's convenient. Like that is the most convenient. And then Hans immediately tries stabbing Elsa to try to end the ice and also seize power. And then Anna, being 2 feet away, jumps in front of the sword, and then she freezes up at the convenient moment and stops the sword. And then basically, her own devotion to her sister
is the act of true love.
Act of true love. And that's cute. I like that.
I like the fact that it wasn't the kiss thing that solves it. Like, that was actually that was the best part of this movie message-wise, is that love doesn't have to take the same form of romance that we just assume.
Yeah, like, there's more to it. It's, love can be many senses, and it's about the love between two siblings, and that's nice. That's cute. The thing is, they didn't reinforce it enough throughout the film, and they went in a lot of weird directions. This film had a troubling production history. We're not going to go into it too much, but it had a fairly troubling production history. It kind of reminds me of sort of like the Empire of the Sun into Emperor's New Groove type stuff, where I can see the fact that it is what it is because of that production history, where they kind of had a lot of ideas but weren't willing to abandon their ideas, and then kind of just shoved other stuff in to kind of fill in the gaps. But it results in the messaging being a little confused, I think.
Yeah. Well, and again, I think they could have reinforced it with using Olaf as that symbol for love. They just didn't do it enough that he ended up working as a proper symbol.
Yeah.
So that would have reinforced that theme a lot more strongly. But they just didn't. So anyway, after that, they, the whole like, oh, it turns out she did true love. She sacrificed. Well, no, she dethaws because and again, to be fair, it was her own act of true love.
Which is cute.
Which is actually kind of cool. It's actually,
and it makes sense.
It's a self-actualized thing.
Because it's to be her own heart.
So love wasn't something that someone else had to give her. It was something that she had to express. And I thought, like, that was actually a really powerful thing. Like, that was really well done. It just, they didn't do enough leading to that point where it's enough to, I think, redeem the entire film's odd tonal missteps. So anyway, she dethaws. Elsa understands how her powers work from this.
I can control it with love, which is, once again, we go back to, what the fuck, parents? What the fuck?
Also,
troll?
What the fuck?
You ruined her.
Work? Yeah, like, you destroyed.
You caused this. If you let her have a positive relationship, maybe she would have figured this out.
Or the trolls too. The trolls.
You made her emotionally distant. You did this.
You did the exact opposite of what you should have done.
And it's like, sure, maybe that's what they're going for, is that their parents and those trolls sucked. But it is so narratively convenient, and they never call attention to it, that it's just so dumb. Like, it's fine. It works. Like, it's not that dumb. We're exaggerating for effect to some degree, admittedly. Like, we're kind of,
the movie is not as bad as what we're saying.
It's not a bad film. But that element of it is really frustrating. It's just like,
it's
a real frustrating thing if you apply any more than like the base level of like thinking to it. It falls apart because so much of the film was based on these sort of conveniences. Like, oh, the kid that was walking by in the youth, saw her freezing, her heart frozen, and ends up befriending these trolls is the one that she meets later. How convenient. Oh, her memories were removed to kind of result in this plot happening. How convenient. Like, oh, she ran away in the exact opportune time, and this random foreign guy is able to tell the guards to try to arrest her to further scare her off. How convenient. It's like so many things that are so just built around the fact, like, hey, wouldn't this work?
It's
And
like, we need this to happen, so we're going to find a way to make it happen.
And there's all some stuff that are inconsistent as a result of this, because, like, I still don't understand why Prince Hans, him being evil, is cool. Like, it's, hey...
They just wanted, I think, honestly, with him, I think they wanted that twist to happen. Because,
Sure.
again, it's disturbing when the way he does it, I thought was effectively disturbing.
Sure.
Like,
and
if only
I
someone here actually loved you. I was like, holy crap, that's creepy and horrifying, and an interesting twist off of the whole, like, this prince saw my sleeping body and kissed me. I guess I love him. Like,
and also, like, there's also the whole fact of, like, hey, like, it does wordsmith, like, hey, people can lie, people can be deceptive. Like, that's the
but
thing.
at the
like,
same time, but
interesting.
again, like, and it works in that moment. But then when you look back at it and his plan,
previous actions, like, some of them don't really align.
It does not
perfectly.
align, and also his plan doesn't align. It doesn't.
It doesn't work
so
exactly. Like,
they basically, I think they had a pretty thing of like, this moment will be really emotionally effective.
Nobody will see it coming because we never built it up at all.
Yeah, and so again,
it's like, what?
And it's kind of like when you say something offensive and you get people to laugh. Well, it's a trick. It's a cheap trick, and it works. It just doesn't mean you've actually done anything of an accomplishment, or no one's going to think back to that moment and go, "Yeah, that was really well thought out." That's the issue.
You don't look back. You're like, oh,
everything in this film
I see
is
how
about
this happened. Like, I see how they were building up to it. Like, the only thing you see is, like, oh yeah, like, I guess maybe he was lying about how close the relationship was, and because it was really, he was just acting into how transparent she is, and just like kind of going along with that. Like, that's the only element to it. Otherwise, it's like, oh, he seems like a nice guy and is being respectful.
Yeah.
Meh? Like, I don't get, like, the whole, like, again,
how
he was acting towards Elsa.
From again, a lot of his, because so if everything he's been doing is a game the entire time,
some of his actions don't make any sense.
Yeah, and also him dropping the act has nothing for him to gain. Apparently, the girl's going to die anyway.
Well, he was just saying, like, well, yeah,
have
like,
her
oh,
die
I wouldn't kiss you. I need to let you die from
her, because
plus, letting her die doesn't help you would not gain power.
Yeah.
Like, you can have, like, yeah, maybe you wouldn't have been in your own happy relationship with this, Disney princess or whatever, I guess, because you're evil and want an evil princess, ? I don't know. Like, I don't know what the rationale is there. Like, you could just have Elsa, like, you could still just murder Elsa or have Elsa die and murder the princess that you were going to, or marry the princess you were going to marry anyways.
Well,
you don't need everything else
even
here.
then, let's say he does do the kiss, and because he doesn't actually love her, it doesn't work. Well, she's going to die anyway. But on the off chance that she doesn't, you suddenly didn't, throw your cards on the table. Like, that's, again, like his plan is, if she dies thinking he still loved her, well, that's fine. He didn't have to suddenly do that reveal.
Yeah,
there's no reason for him to suddenly tell her his plan.
It ultimately bites in the ass because she doesn't die.
Yes.
Snowman shows up.
There's no reason for him to suddenly do this James Bond, like, let me tell you my plan. It's like,
you thought someone loved you, didn't you? I wanted you to seize control.
And why don't you just confirm that she's dead before you go out and do that? I mean,
it's a Disney film.
It's a
sure,
but again, it's one of those things where everything is about working in the moment without, at the end, someone thinking back and going, "Oh, wait a minute."
Like, they could have done this better. Is the issue?
Yes,
my issue.
They could have patched it up. It's not a bad film. They could have just patched it up. Like, they could have, like, maybe rearranged a few things and for the symbolic gesture, make sure certain arcs and certain things were more emphasized or other things de-emphasized and things like that. Like, it could have worked. They just needed to rearrange a few of the elements because it's all there. It just needs proper emphasis. So give Olaf an arc and reaffirm him as being a symbol of those two characters' relationship and things like that. Because they kind of establish it, and then it doesn't really end up doing that much.
Anywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. It's like, again, the element is there. They almost thought of it, and then they just kind of dropped it. That's really what the issue is.
And again, so much of the film is based around convenience. If they'd spent more time sort of building up their internal like universe or something, or didn't rely on such conveniences. One thing that I actually find interesting is that they go out of their way to say actually true love is not love at the first sight type stuff. There's no such thing. It's kind of just like it's not a matter of like fate and stuff. But Kristoff also basically met her and saw what happened to her when she was like 4.
Yeah.
So that's kind of horseshit because that's also kind of fate. It was just the person she thought she was fated to was a different person.
Yeah.
So it just kind of it doesn't actually buck the trend there because their conveniences.
It reinforces it again. Yeah.
The very fact that they are focused on these conveniences just reinforces fate because that's all that convenience is. Like, oh, it was fated to be that the troll removes her memories and this whole series of events happens.
So anyway, at the end, she gives Olaf a cloud that keeps him from melting.
Also does. Yeah.
Hans gets deported back home, where I guess his punishment is to scoop poop the rest of his life. I think.
I guess.
Because that's what happens in like a camp movie. Oh no, the rich kids camp lost. Oh, we fall over into a bucket of slime. Oh no. And then also, I guess the Duke guy from Wesselton, Weaseltown, he gets trade cut off.
But they're also who else are they trading their rights to? That's going to ruin their own economy. Oh no!
I guess but also like this guy was barely a villain. I mean, he kind of was.
He was an asshole. He did try to murder her like 3 times.
Yeah, but in general, he's so ineffective and underdeveloped that he's not an interesting villain at all.
They did send in those guards with the crossbows. They did have those crossbows to try to shoot her. Remember that?
But in general, the way they portray him, though, like he's so off on the sidelines. All of his stuff, nothing he does is direct. So there's no real direct way he channels his evil in any interesting way. So he's not an interesting villain at all. I mean, I think he was really there just as a joke or as a way of misdirecting you from Hans being the villain. Like,
I think he's just trying to be the sub-villain. He's trying to be like the Iago from Aladdin type thing. Like, Jafar.
Yeah, he kind of is. I mean,
I'm Gilbert Gottfried.
But at least with that one, you had the established Jafar villainy from the start.
Absolutely.
So because otherwise he has to carry
Iago,
the villain label.
In that case, is a kind of a balance to Jafar being actually evil, whereas Iago is the comical relief villain, which they do a lot.
Yeah, but the thing is Iago was not responsible for carrying the villainy for the first half of the film. That's the difference. Is this guy has to take the villain workload essentially for the first 3/4 of this film.
And so it doesn't really work because he's not that menacing.
And he's not interesting. I mean, he's just a sideline joke. So again, like, that's the thing, is you have a sub-comical villain as, for the most part, the villain of this film until around halfway through where he's just like, no, you're not really effective anymore. Now Winter's the villain. And then you have to wait until Hans becomes the true villain.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, one of the things that Disney films really do well is that even though their villains tend not to be very well nuanced, they tend to be pretty cool.
Yeah, they're not interested. Neither of them are that interesting or developed.
No, they're not cool. They don't get a music number.
I mean, he explains his backstory of why he's a villain, but in like a sentence. Oh, my brothers are all things, and I'm not. It's like
I got 12 of them.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Like, that's telling. That's not showing. That has no emotional impact on me at all.
He should have got a music number. The last music number in the film is the stupid-ass troll music number.
Oh, God, I forgot. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's literally the last one. It's like, why didn't he get some sort of music number? Is it because his voice actor couldn't sing?
Well, no, because he has that duet.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Why didn't he get a music number?
Because fuck you, Zorak. That's why.
Like, why didn't he get a music number? The villain music numbers are the best part of these damn films.
Something about his background that would have made it, again, doesn't have to justify it, but to make it understandable that he would do all this. Other than he's just a bad person who's willing to do it. Well, what drove him to it? Like, there's so many other options he could have done to do that. It just, again, it didn't make any, it wasn't well developed. So, and then I guess, and then Anna and Kristoff end up together because Kristoff realizes that his reindeer is a selfish lover.
Hey, man, I like that thing at the end with the reindeer posing with the sled. That was pretty good.
That was
like a car. That was pretty good.
Reindeer's the best character of the entire thing.
Yeah.
That or the snow monster. One of the two.
No, better character. The guy in the shop, the Swede in the shop selling the shit, wasn't taking Kristoff's bullshit.
Oh yeah, there's that.
That guy was pretty funny. The whole thing of just selling stuff. Then Kristoff tried to negotiate and just stands up and just throws him out. That guy was pretty cool.
Yeah. At least, well, again, Kristoff ended up being my favorite just because I kind of understood where he was coming from to some degree.
You
like it was
raised by trolls. You can relate.
No, in the sense that it's understandable.
Yeah,
like
yeah, I agree.
This is what I mean. Like his background is kind of explained, but like he and also his personality is something that makes sense. Like he's
seems, so much more grounded than everyone else in the film.
And yet and again he's still weird, but he's more grounded than anybody else in this thing.
Yeah.
And then I think the ending is basically, well, we're never going to shut this castle up again. I guess.
It's like, we're not going to be.
Don't worry, the revolution anymore. Will never come.
Yeah.
These gates will never be closed.
Quick, close the gates. The peasants are revolting. Freeze them all. They must learn fear again. They must learn again why we rule this kingdom. Fulfill
the prophecies.
Do what is in your blood.
Again,
you already have the sins of innocence on you.
They at least reference, like, oh, well, your great grandmother, the queen, the queen
had these powers too.
Yeah, and it's just skips.
Somehow she got married. Like, I don't know,
something like, because otherwise it's just an odd convenience. Again,
it's just supernatural, but they never really go into like the.
Does the rest of that world have this?
I want to make a metaphor to another Disney film. I want to talk about what is it called? The Princess and the Frog film.
Oh yeah.
They specifically have, the whole was it Dr. Fossier who has like the hoodoo or voodoo or whatever.
Yeah.
They don't explain it, but they couch it in the sense like, hey, this is a thing in this universe. We have, this magic and these, these sort of entities and stuff. They specifically couch that in the sense of like, hey, this is what's driving a lot of the plot.
There's a mythology.
We're going to explain that there is this powers and these mythos here. They don't really do that here in the sense like she just arbitrarily just says, surprise, he has ice powers. They never like because of
and there's no.
They don't
other
tie it
magic.
into Scandinavian mythology at all, other than the sense like, hey, we have trolls. Trolls are a thing in Scandinavian mythology.
It kind of, and even then, like the trolls,
it's a thing. Yeah. I mean, they don't behave like that. But yeah.
Again, like, does the public in that town are they aware of trolls' existence? Are they aware of magic existence? Like, how do they live in that world? There's no other magic ever shown. Again, like, I don't understand the narrative universe in which this film takes place.
I mean, I can suspend my disbelief and accept it. I think
it's just some hints, something.
I think it would have been better if they had explained it though, or just given
just
like
a little.
Lip
like I don't need it.
Just get a little bit of It doesn't like they have to like explain like, oh, she gets it because of the amount of ether in the air.
Well, yeah,
they need to
give
a little bit
midichlorians in there, and which,
like exactly. You don't need that, but you just need a little like, hey, this is a thing. To give us like a little kind of a framework of like, oh, why is she hiding this? Like, why is
a
this
mythology?
so spooky?
The show
all we get is
to their universe.
All we get is the troll just saying like, hey, your ice powers are going to get more and more out of control, and you're eventually going to murder someone. It's all that happens, and the troll saying this is the entire cause of all the problems.
Yeah, so it's not even helpful.
It doesn't help.
And also, Arendelle as a kingdom is just really boring. Like, we don't understand any of it.
Again, it could have done with a lot more setting, establishing shots of like, here's the rest of the kingdom. Here we are.
Here's how those people live. This is their relationship to the royal family. Because again, they shut themselves off in that castle for forever.
All we have is like people showing up at the market and like the stuff right before when they are opening up. Like, all right, you can open up the castle. Yeah, people are showing up for this ball for the coronation because their parents died. They don't seem too emotionally broke up about it though.
And again, how's the country being run, managed?
There's an unseen regent in the background who's just been kind of just like leaning back, just kicking it.
And they could have had that character be
a villain,
a villain of some sort. And you know what?
The major domo character that's always evil.
It would have made that type of machination make sense because he would at least somewhat have a rightful call.
Sure, replace Mustache Duke with a Major Domo character, and it would have fallen like it would have been stereotypical because the Major Domo is always evil.
But it would have made sense.
It would have made sense because how can he tell the guards to get Caesar?
Yes,
Because he's the guy who's
and
actually
also
he's paying the bills. They know him. They don't know this queen that's been locked in the castle for ages. This princess. They don't know her. Who's been paying the bills? Who's been getting all the taxes?
Who's been housing
doing
and training
stuff.
them? Like the whole thing.
Like Joe Schmo guard, like, hey, Princess ain't never came down, but hey, that Major Domo came down to his house and and said had a family.
Well, he's
brought
the
him a
one
cake
that gives
for
me
Christmas.
my orders. He's the one that
does all this stuff. He gave him a Christmas present. It was a tiny wooden dog for his child. It's like that would be like, yeah, of course he would fall in what, even if he's evil, but that would almost be too nuanced. Which is funny because it's the most stereotypical thing they could have done.
The joke that he's from Weaseltown.
Yeah, like they wouldn't be able to do the weasel dance of like, oh god, fuck.
The dance from those ads for Six Flags with the old man.
That's what it is. He is that guy from the Six Flags videos.
Oh god,
he is that, but also just evil exploitation.
Yeah.
So he's the guy from the Six Flags videos.
Yeah. So did you see the short that they made after this? Okay,
They may have been on the DVD or the Blu-ray, but I did not watch it.
It's meh.
Okay.
Well, no, the short was not on the DVD. It was in front of one of the more recent films.
Then I definitely did not see it.
Yeah, and of course there's going to be a sequel. I have no idea what they could possibly do.
I'm just imagining this as like a Back to the Future type thing. It's like no, Elsa, this isn't about your ice powers. It's about your children's ice powers.
Oh God, we're gonna go back in time and stop my parents from screwing me up.
Or is it? Oh God, no! Is it gonna be like their parents are actually alive and they have to connect with their parents who are emotionally distanced and caused all their problems and have to save them from like a dragon in the sea, and it becomes like an action film now?
Or actually, I would like it instead where it turns into like a Kramer versus Kramer type of thing. It's not even an action adventure anymore. It's
my parents.
It's a pondering, emotional drama between them all.
Oh God!
And then you have Olaf in the background going, "I'm a snowman."
I always wanted to go to the beach. I don't even know how I know where the beach is. I'm a snowman. Who wants a hug?
Salt water on snow is great.
Someone salted me. My torso's melting. Let's see if there's anything.
And with that cloud, it keeps him in a constant state of death and undeath.
Oh God, it hurts.
Salt constantly melts him, but the cloud keeps him just cold enough to experience the pain of fading away forever.
Yeah, but yeah, the fundamental thing that pisses me off is all the stuff involving the Duke that doesn't make any sense, and also the whole reason being that she loses control of her powers is in fact because her parents and the trolls couched her to a position of fear. Because I think it's kind of telling that the best thing, what is the key thing for a good relationship between people?
Communication.
It's communication. They ripped that away and just fucking buried it and convinced her to lock herself up.
And again, if these trolls are as apparently all knowing about how those powers work, they should have probably have figured that out from the beginning.
It's probably gonna ruin your it's actually leaving her with the good memories, just reframe them, overwriting them to be just snow memories, kind of actually just screwed shit up.
And again, it would have been easier if, like my earlier explanation was, where, if she finds out about the powers and anyone tries to explain this to her to fix the situation, her brain will explode. At least that would have given a reason for them to be so bad at what they're doing.
That would also be so arbitrary. You can't tell her. Her brain will explode.
Again, it would have been arbitrary, but it would have at least been a mechanical thing that would explain why the characters didn't do the basic due diligence that a human being would.
Sure, but it also sounds like
for it otherwise.
But it also sounds like a kind of it reminds me of
a
schoolyard. It sounds like a schoolyard type thing. No, you can't tell them if you do. The brain will explode.
Yeah, well, again, but again, I'm not saying it's a smart idea. It would at least mechanically function as a way of as some way of explaining them, other than these are terrible parents or these are emotionally bankrupt people who don't understand how human lives work.
Well, they are royalty.
I guess so. They live in an intrinsically unfair and unjust system that they are that they benefit from.
Yeah. Minor details I want to talk about. I found it funny when she was getting coronated. They had a Globus cruciger without the cruciger on it. That really made me laugh. It was, they had a globe that normally has the crucifix on it, but it didn't have a crucifix on it. That made me laugh. That just made me laugh. It's like, that symbol loses all meaning without that, because the whole point is.
Hey, she has powers. There is no God in this universe.
I mean, maybe I don't know.
I mean, clearly, I mean, it's
she got that how to get those powers from somewhere. Okay.
Well, maybe it's not God. See, that might be it. There's no Christian God in that universe.
No, the powers are from the devil.
There's eldritch
if they had
horrors.
said that, like, if they had gone for, it's the thing. Like, if they had some reference of religion, kind of go something, like Disney films have mentioned religion before. Like, hey, Hunchback of Notre Dame may have done it half-assed compared to the novel, the Victor Hugo novel.
Well, in the novel, everyone dies. That's a big difference.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, but even with the religious stuff, where Frollo was originally an archbishop, and there's more nuance there. But anyways, you can mention religion in a Disney film; they've done it before. But if they had
create a mythology,
but I'm just saying, if they had coached that in the sense of no magic powers of the devil. Not necessarily that's why she has them,
but at least why she would be fearful of other people.
Instead, it's just people are just cryogenesis.
Hey, look at our awesome daughter who has ice powers in our ice-based economy.
Yeah, and then at the end, everybody accepts that, by the way, and she's kind of just freezing it so everybody can go ice skating. It's wow, you people turned around on this pretty quick. Maybe we shouldn't have, maybe Elsa shouldn't have ran away immediately, because that was kind of dumb.
Yeah. Again, we don't understand how this kingdom works or their relationship to it, or how if they understand that this type of magic thing
if they'd explained that a bit more, maybe that would have been a bit more, I don't know, believable.
Yeah, at least something to justify the fear.
Yeah. The other thing I want to talk about is I can totally see how this appeals to a younger girl audience. Everything about this seems really kind of mechanically built on that. But it is kind of funny looking on it in juxtaposition to the other princess cartoon for girls we talked about recently, where her head gets cut off at the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of it's a funny little juxtaposition.
Yeah, well, just in sharp contrast.
Yeah.
Sharp cut.
I like with the animation. I kind of complained about some of the aspects of it, but I do like how the faces aren't ever just the samey face. They have a lot of interesting micro gestures and interesting micro expressions going on.
It's the acting of it that's
good.
The
acting and the expressions are really good.
The design still feels fairly samey for at least the two sisters with other recent Disney ones, but the acting is what sets them apart. With the personality and the way they express themselves is unique.
Also, I don't know, the frame rate on it sometimes feels a little too fast, but at the same time, some of these expressions wouldn't work with a reduced frame rate.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe if I'd seen this sort of style more often, it'd become more natural. Maybe it's just because I haven't seen that much stuff with this sort of style. I presume they're just going to continue using this style now and forever as a result of how popular Frozen and Tangled both were.
Yeah.
It's going to be the go-to. And plus also, again, they spent all that money on that hair tech. The behind the scenes on that hair tech is actually pretty impressive because, dang, that hair is detailed.
Yeah. Well, hair and water are some of the most difficult things to do in animation, which is why I think what's interesting is a lot of the animated stuff for kids for a very long time was mostly animal characters and things like that. And for the most part, a lot of CG stuff, with a few exceptions, mostly human as the protagonists, because fur and hair are so hard otherwise. So having characters with mostly fur on them would just be a horrible nightmare until the technology got improved.
It's why WALL-E in retrospect seems like a really transparent kind of this is actually relatively easy to do. Whew.
Kind of. I mean, at least until the second half of that one.
Sure.
And then you had films like Madagascar, which stylized everything, so having the hair not look perfect was fine. You didn't notice that the hair was weird because they made the entire film very stylized and cartoony anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I guess, maybe why the whole Zootopia thing is Disney's new thing, because it's like, hey, look, we finally have our technology enough to do cartoon animal characters again. I mean, at least that's what I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, yeah, I mean, the tech on this and development of it, all that stuff is fine. I mean, it's Disney. I mean, Disney's not going to have bad movement. Their acting is always very much spot on.
They seldom make a bad film.
They can still make a bad film. I'm just saying on a technical level.
Well, I mean, what's the film that
they've
made that's bad? Like animated, like bad. Bad.
I mean, as in like not even the story or the animation look good, because sometimes like the bad movies will still have good animation.
Well, whatever.
Like Brother Bear, I thought was terrible, but like,
I forgot that they did that. Good point.
Home on the Range. I'm like, they know how to animate.
Did they do that?
That was Disney, yeah. Home on the Range. It was the one that they were originally going to put it on video only, and then they were like, we'll put it in theaters. Oh yeah, never mind. Rosie O'Donnell as a cow, I think. Yeah, I mean, like again, like the thing is, they're always going to be competent. Like they know how to visually do all this stuff. It just sometimes they have bad ideas, or they just haven't gotten their story stuff together, or something like that. But Disney is always very good at doing the visual stuff. It might not be the most inventive visuals at all times, because I think they just they end up being the ones that set the standard, but they're always very competent at it.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, I would say with this film, it's worth watching. There's some good stuff in it. I think it has certain messages in it I think were really good. I mean, I remember when I first watched it, I really liked the fact that the act of true love was a self-actualized expression of love that wasn't in the typical romance thing between a man and a woman type of stuff that you always see in these films. And I like the fact that it was kind of a twist on it, because all the other characters assumed it was the typical route.
Well, that assumption also is another kind of a convenient thing. Like, oh, so you guys know you're in a Disney film, huh?
Well, yes, but what I'm saying though is that when I first saw this, I thought them twisting that theme was really interesting, and I think it is interesting, and it is a valuable thing. I just don't think that's enough in itself to make the film become a great film.
Sure, and I think it's fine it's certainly fine, and I completely both understand why kids like it, and I think it's perfectly
still
fine.
Entertaining and all that, yeah.
And it's got a lot of elements that appeal, and I think it's perfectly fine as a film for kids. I just don't think it holds up that much on trying to approach it from a serious film sense, which maybe the film wasn't, the film probably wasn't intended for that.
It didn't set out to do that. But again, there's been some Disney movies in the past that do hold up to that type of scrutiny on some level.
I mean, Disney, yeah, some
to
of them,
some extent, yeah.
I mean, Disney films, a big issue I have with them is that they tend to be really transparent and really kind of, they don't go for really complexity with the things. They kind of go really straightforward with almost everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, they
because that's kind of they're going for the emotional
messages. Yeah.
And that's kind of what they're going for, sure. I do wish the films had more complexity to them always. I mean, they're things for kids. Again, that's kind of a stupid thing to hope for. But
again, I don't think that stuff for kids has to be uncomplex. I think that's the calculation that a lot of these companies make, and I think it's a faulty one. Like, yes, you don't want to overcomplicate for things for kids, but kids aren't always as dumb as people think they are, and they can accept a certain level of emotional depth if you just present it to them in the right way. But I think a lot of people, it's just easier to go, nah, kids are dumb, add a fart joke.
Well, I just more like some of the villain stuff always just seems really just like, I don't know.
Yeah. But either way, I still think this movie is worth a look. It's entertaining. It has some ideas and themes in there that I think were really interesting in their own right. They might not work in the film, but they are interesting themes. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine film. I mean, like I said, I didn't care for the musical numbers. They didn't really, except for the one. I like that one, Snowman. That was pretty funny. It also had almost nothing to do with anything, but it was pretty funny.
The Let It Go as a song itself was pretty good.
It's okay.
I mean, it's not a great song, but
people have been building it up. Like, I kept on expecting to be a great, fantastic moment. Then it happened, and it's like, oh.
Well, I think maybe you also just got overexposed to it before even getting
I didn't hear it at all. So
really? Huh.
I dodged it.
Wow, I'm surprised you were able to.
I mean, I kept hearing everybody talk about Let It Go, but then I heard it, and it's like, it was all right.
Yeah, maybe the hype just wasn't able to live up.
It was no hellfire, if you know what I'm saying. Now that's a Disney song I can get behind. Yeah, but it was fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this was a good discussion. It's really helped me achieve my inner Frozen. But I think it's in fact time.
Only an act of true nitpickery will be able to unfreeze your heart.
Yeah, in fact, though, I think it's time for us to cap this discussion in the Disney and let it go.
Yes. So next week, oh God, next week we are we're gonna watch the exact opposite of this movie.
What's the deal with B-movie?
What's the deal with comedy? What's the deal with people not laughing at my jokes? Oh, PC culture, I tell you. If anybody understands comedy, it's me. As you can look at my past experience, most recent thing, B-movie.
Why is PC people trying to stop my movie about lady wanting to fuck a bee?
God.
Yeah, so next time we're going to be talking about B.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about B-movie. That's B-E-E movie. That's, the Seinfeld movie about a bee.
It's a pun on B-movies.
But after that, the following week, I'm giving you forewarning so you have a chance to watch it. We're going to be talking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is this week, as we're recording, going to be wrapping up its, I guess,
third arc.
Third arc, yes. I wouldn't say a third season. It's technically like the fourth season, but
yeah, just call it an arc.
Yeah, third arc. So third part.
Yes.
So
it is available on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, it's on Crunchyroll. I don't think it's on anything else at the moment.
And I think even if you're a free user, you can watch older episodes of it just at a week behind.
So by the time we get to it, all the episodes will be available to you anyways. So hey, and I believe they're also planning on bringing this current arc over to Adult Swim.
Really? Huh.
I think they're trying to. They're dubbing Stardust Crusaders.
Oh, wow. That'll be interesting.
I think it's weird that they're skipping the first two.
Maybe they just didn't feel like trying to catch up. I don't know.
That's dumb.
They might go back and do it, but I think maybe
No, the thing is, I don't think that... I think part 3 needs part 1, so you have a context to Dio. But anyways, we'll get to that in 2 weeks. Next week, fuck, man. Just fuck.
Fuck you, Seinfeld.
We're all gonna die. We'll see if we even get to JoJo after B-movie. God damn.
If any of us survive the blighted artistic hellscape that is...
Watch B-movie with a friend. That's what I'm just going to say. If any of you guys are going to watch this before joining us for that podcast, watch it with a friend.
Keep like Suicide Hotline on speed dial.
It seems like it's a good thing to insult.
Is it? Is it even fun on that level? I mean, that's what I'm worried about.
That write-up about it was pretty good.
I guess.
That write-up about it, pulling out how dumb it is, was pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyway, anything else to plug?
Nope.
All right, you can always email us at adthepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on iTunes as Animation Dissection. You can find me on Twitter at RYMagnuson.
And I'm at SA Zorak.
And that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us.